That's right. It's the inevitably nonsensical, yet hopefully enjoyable, After Movie Diner. If you enjoy the show and have pursued the recommended treatment from your medical providers, why not support the show on Patreon over at patreon.com/After Movie Diner. You can also donate to the show directly at aftermoviediner.com. Rate and review the show wherever podcasts are found, and rating and reviewing is possible. Even a 1-star review provides useful insights on exactly the sort of petty-minded and wretched individual who negatively reviews free entertainment they do not need to be consuming. So, without further dribbling, John Cross!
Hello and welcome to the After Movie Diner. And yes, we have come to the end. It is the last episode of Sleazy Spader Springtime for 2024, potentially the last episode of Sleazy Spader Springtime forever. There are a few little performances that if we wanted to do like Spader scraps down the road, it's something we could potentially do. But this is probably the last ever leading performance Spader conversation that I'm going to have on the After Movie Diner. So who better to be in the guest host seat than the man who has been with us these many years through every single episode of Sleazy Spader Springtime, who has brought us emails galore, comments galore, and did his own Sleazy Spader watching session with his long-suffering wife, Jo. It is none other than Andy Lunn. Sir, you are here in the After Movie Diner basement. How do you feel?
I feel good. Yes, I'm suitably sleazy.
It is fantastic. Yeah, you are on a very loose seat. Yeah. You are on a leatherette armchair that makes farting noises every time you so much as move. Oh, it's Sleazy Spader Springtime. Welcome to the show. Oh, it's a Sleazy Spader Springtime. I want you all to know that if you please, there's James Spader Sleaze and it's got nowhere else to go. So loosen all your blouses, give your nose a damn good blow, 'cause you know we're gonna give you what for, politely, because it's 2024. Sleazy Spader Springtime Show. Oh yeah, it is 2024's Sleazy Spader Springtime Show. But look, I was saying to Andy before we started recording, you know, for years, the After Movie Diner used to be in a diner and have tons of background noise and whatever. And now every sniff, cough, farting chair noise and everything else, I try and edit out. And then I think to myself, after editing these long-winded podcasts, the hell do I bother? People listened for years with fucking clinking plates and crashing cutlery and banging things and drills and AC units and people talking in the background. It was all fine, right, Andy?
Yeah.
So, what I wanted to ask you, I don't know, have you ever been on a podcast before?
Yes, I've been on a couple of the Wayne Gale Variety Hour podcasts.
Okay, so I'm not popping your podcast cherry.
No.
Okay, so you're comfortable. I've made you comfortable.
Yeah.
You're a couple of beers in. Yes, you're happy.
Yes.
Okay, good. So let's start. First of all, you're in Connecticut. You're in America. You're in the basement. We'd only met once before in London in the pub. How does it feel to be in the belly of the diner beast, such as it is?
It's an honour. It's a big honour. It's nice to finally kind of see where the magic happens.
And how does it feel to be closing out what has been an epic multi-year Spader adventure?
Terrifying.
Yes. Well, it just worked out to me because I've been, Sleazy Spader kind of eked into summer this year and whatever, don't care. And oozed. Yes, it slid into summer on its own stomach juices. Because I imagine Spader, especially as become more portly, that the stomach probably has juices. What a horrible image. I always think of Dan Aykroyd playing the mutant babies in Nothing But Trouble, where they're all oiled up.
Yep.
And I don't know why I think of that, but or Fat Bastard with the sort of greasy stomach. I think Spader probably has a greasy gut. What do you think?
I think so. No, after years of abuse.
After years of fluid abuse.
Yeah.
Spader has a greasy gut. I quite agree. And so this is the last one. I started to realize that, well, I had a couple that I'd recorded with Matt. I had another one with Mo. I was really, really, really trying to do one more between Mo's and yours that was going to have a female co-host, because I wanted to cover Secretary with a female, because I thought that would make it interesting. I'd always said I wouldn't do Secretary because it's already so sleazy. Like, what would you possibly... I mean, the whole movie is predicated on his sleaze.
Yeah.
But I thought maybe I could maybe I get a female co-host. I had someone specific in mind, but she's sort of not podcasting on the head for the moment. So that might not happen. But then I thought, well, look, Lunn's coming over. He's visiting. I've got to rope him in to be the last, because you've become, throughout the Sleazy Spader Springtimes that we've done, however many we've done, 7 or 8, and the diner, you've become the mascot.
The constant, the through line.
The through line. Yes. The Lunn emails and the through line. And I hope we've always done your emails justice. I know that we knew each other before I started doing Sleazy Spader, because you used to write into Profondo Cinema, and I used to write into Profondo Cinema. And I'm pretty sure you had written in to my show prior to Spader, potentially, maybe once or twice. I'd have to go back into the annals of history at this point to figure out when that was. And yet, when we started Sleazy Spader Springtime, I can't remember, was I aware of your... Like, was it your email saying my wife and I have been watching Spader that kickstarted this?
Oh, I don't think so.
Or did I start doing these shows and then you were like, wait,
yes, I think
the wife and I did?
Yeah, okay. Ours was 10 years ago. Ours was definitely 2014, according to the reliable Letterboxd.
Well, that was 3 years into my show.
Right.
So maybe you mentioned it and it gave me an idea. I don't know. Otherwise, you must have been listening to the show and went, wait, Sleazy Spader? Joe and I just did this a few years ago.
I think that's what happened, yeah.
You were like, I can't believe John, of all people, is about to embark on the same insane mission that you did. So talk to us all about your own Sleazy Spader journey. And I know we were discussing last night and you couldn't quite pinpoint.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it started, whether it started with the... I can't remember whether the Blacklist was already on, and that's where we were watching that, and we went to Spader. I mean, I've been watching Spader on and off for years.
He's been a constant in most
he's always been,
Gen X's sort of...
Him and various other people are just people you're watching. And
he is a sort of key Gen X icon. I know he doesn't get quite the sort of praise or mentions that someone like an RDJ or even with his recent documentary, like some of the Brat Pack, Andrew McCarthy and Rob Lowe and people. But I don't know. I think we grew up with Spader. I mean, Spader has been a constant in my life. There hasn't been a year that I've been alive that Spader hasn't squeezed one out. And in terms of his films. And so I think that I think he's a Gen X icon. I think we can call him that, right? Without too much fear of being people writing in. Well, when John said Gen X icon, I don't think anyone's gonna. I wish I got hate mail. That would be so fun, wouldn't it? John, when you said James Spader was a Gen X icon, I think what you need to realize is it would be great if I had nitpicky listeners like that. Sadly, I only have about 4 listeners. So it's not a big deal. But so talk to us about you start. So Blacklist was
I think that's what was happening for that time. And then I must have just suggested, I think we watched Mannequin, I think was the first one. And then I have this, I'm about the only person I think left in the UK that has a online postal rental DVDs.
Yes.
Cinema Paradiso, which are very good.
Yeah.
But I don't,
Yeah.
I'm not sponsored by them or anything.
No, but don't mention them because I didn't even know there was still an online DVD rental place happening anywhere in the world. So
yes, same as the kind of Blockbusters and all that were before. And,
right, okay.
So you have a list and you put titles on there. So I think from memory, which is poor, that
Beer rattled.
that I just put a lot of them on there, and then every week I was getting two at a time.
So how do you do? Do you do it? Is it like a monthly subscription, and then you can pick as many?
You can have the subscription package I'm on. You can have as many as you like within a month. So I kind of, if I can get 2 in a night, I'll post them back and then get the other 2 in the week. So you can get plenty.
Look at that right there.
Yeah,
it's fast. I mean,
there's cheaper packages where you're only limited to 2 a month or something. But
here's a quick question, because we were going through the whole public versus privatization. Since Royal Mail has been privatized, can you still squeeze 4 discs in a week, or has the mail slowed down? That's a good question, because you're the only one getting regular mail.
Sunday mail, I think, was still just a thing when I started, and when that, or at least Sunday collection.
Okay.
So when that stopped, that was kind of like, well, I'm missing out here, because if I don't get it in Saturday, I can't post it on Monday.
And did you used to write to, because our mutual friend Mark Burns is in the postal service, did you write to him, make sure my discs come in the mail?
I never bothered Mark on the postal situation. I think he gets enough grief.
I would love to have Mark on the show and be like, so how many people still rent from DVD places? And he'd be like, nobody. Andy is the only one keeping Cinema Paradiso alive.
There must be. I mean, it seems to do all right. There must be more. Right. I know no one else. I mean, I know a lot of people that like films. I know no one else that does that.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I think it's fantastic. First of all, I think it's fantastic. Secondly, I like the idea that Cinema Paradiso, that's the name of the rental company, is really just one guy with a collection like mine or bigger than mine or whatever, that every so often just goes, this Lunn fella keeps ordering a lot of movies from me. You're single-handedly like keeping him and his old dear in business. Which I think is wonderful. Now, some of the more obscure Spaders, were you able to, like Deadwood, is it Deadwood?
Deadwood was on there, yeah.
Deadwood was on there. Yeah. My goodness. It must be less rare in Europe then, I guess. Because over here it's unheard of.
Yeah. I still need to have it, I think. It's one I want to have, even though I know you didn't particularly care for it. But
no, it's not that I didn't care for it. I cared for it quite a bit. But it was one of the ones that falls into... There are sort of 2 types of Spader films. They all in some way revolve around his penis. But there are ones in which the entire plot hinges on him having sex. Star-Crossed is another one. Yeah. Where he has to have sex with the alien, or they all attack Earth, or whatever the plot of that movie is. I just remember him hanging out in pool halls wearing scarves, being like, how is this an alien movie? But okay. I don't remember much about Star-Crossed, but I do remember him wearing a lot of scarves. Which maybe is where his scarf fascination that continued into the blacklist started. Could be. But then there are ones like Deadwood where, yes, okay, the plot is, man washes up on island, woman takes him in, and it's sort of a Misery-style plot where the woman kind of slowly becomes kind of a crazy captor. But the movie still hinges on the idea that Spader is having his way with this woman. Like, there's so many movies that basically hinge on the idea of Spader having it away with a woman. Or many women. Yeah. And he's never hidden the fact. Like, Boston Legal is another series that, although it's fantastic and it makes a lot of political points, there's a lot of comedic points, and, it's pro people over 50, like the cast tend to be over 50, and we were talking the other day, like, what is incredible about Boston Legal is you've got Captain Kirk, Murphy Brown, Larroquette, who was in Night Court, you've got... Selleck shows up, Magnum PI. You've got all these, Betty White is on there. You've got all these iconic TV, American TV, like Mount Rushmore, right? You have all these iconic TV American actors, and yet the show essentially is still like, how many subordinates can Spader have his way with? Like, because the show starts and he's been knobbing Lake Bell. Yeah. Then he goes on to knob Rhoda Meacham. There's even some indications that he would quite happily sleep with Betty White. If she he would happily nail Schmidt if Shatner would let him.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
He has a dalliance with his secretary, who was played by the woman from Halloween H2O. she was one of the 4 kids
Right.
with Michelle Williams, Josh Hartnett.
Oh, yes.
She's one of those 4. Anyway, she's a very attractive brunette girl. She's in one of the episodes because she keeps telling Shirley that he objectifies her and
Right.
grades her sweat.
Oh, yes, that rings a bell there.
She leaves, and then the next assistant he gets in, the blonde girl, Melinda or whatever her name is, she has some credit issues.
Yeah.
He beats the Yahoo from Texas and gets her credit wiped,
Yeah.
and then she's all over him like a rash, like the whole show. And then at the end of the show, he marries Shatner. Like, it's the whole show is, from one minute he's, it's all about the ladies, and then towards the 5th season, it becomes about, like, this weird bromance that has emerged. So there's a lot of movies like that Spader has been in. So you saw Deadwood, you saw Star-Crossed. How many did you make it through? Did you make it through pretty much all his starring films?
Yeah, I think it was 20. So, yeah.
Yeah.
It was quite a big... And it ran from, I think we started March all the way through the year.
And how did your wife take to that? How did Jo take to that?
Most of them. I think she quite likes the Spader, so most of them was fine. There was a few she didn't watch. So, we'd get the video the DVD from Cinema Party, so you shouldn't judge don't judge a book by its cover.
No.
Usually judge a...
But she saw Eyewitness or something, and she was like,
I'm not doing that.
Watch Eyewitness.
No.
2 Days in the Valley, I can see people getting, but Eyewitness, that's a bit of an obscure one. But no, it's a fascinating treasure trove once you go down into the Spader well. Your son John is phenomenally well versed in film, thanks to you, and speaks very eloquently on the subject. Was he part of any of the Spaders, or was he a little young at that point?
Then. He would only been 8 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to start 8-year-olds on Spader.
No,
even the ones that don't have any graphic content.
Yeah.
He's graphic enough, I feel.
Yeah.
Right? There's too much. You don't want to scare John, and John being
no.
Wait, there are men like this in the world? It's a lot. It's a lot.
Spader's amusing, but you don't want to create
No.
You don't want a Spader in your house, really.
No, exactly. Well, I think the thing I've always said is if someone went, "Oh, it's okay, James Spader can take your daughter home," you'd go, "No, no, there's no way on earth."
As much as we love him.
As much as we love Spader, there's no way on earth that he's driving my daughter home, if I had one. There's just no way. He's not driving my wife home, my aunt home, my mother home, my grandmother home. No women are getting in a car with Spader in my life. That's as much as I trust him.
Yeah.
To some extent, I don't trust him with the ladies at all.
Not at all.
So it was just you and Joe. You watched a bunch. Now, do you have your phone? Do you know what ones on Letterboxd you were?
Oh, yes, I can find out.
And I can bring it up. So when you look up James Spader on Letterboxd, you get several lists that people have created.
Yeah.
We've got James Spader created by a person called Kika that just says, "Watching every James Spader movie until I stop being in love with this man. Check notes for random thoughts." Then Andy said, "All the James Spader films I've seen ranked." That was 29 films. Kiko's watched 45 films, so she's beating Andy. Then you've got not Andy Lunn, but different. Then you've got Screen Drafts, just has James Spader at 7 films. There's Kay Hagan and Jen Johans draft the best films ever made starring James Spader. James Spader movies ranked by how much a fetish is taking over his life. Oh my God, I've got to see this. What do they reckon? They reckon Crash is above Secretary. Then Sex Lies Video, Bad Influence, Mannequin. How is Mannequin number 5? What fetish is taking over Spader in Mannequin? Mannequin doesn't play... James Spader, rather, doesn't play the main guy. It's he's the sleazy boss. True Colors. There's no fetish in True Colors. White Palace, yes. Tough Turf, okay. So, yeah, I don't agree with this list at all. James Spader's Dick, a film retrospective. Films either outright about Spader's member or an important plot point hinges on his past, present, or future actions. They reckon Crash, Sex Lies Videotapes, White Palace, Secretary, Bad Influence, Wolf, A Dream Lover, Storyville, Stargate, and 2 Days in the Valley.
That wasn't me that did that list, was it? And I forgot.
No.
Okay.
I said you need to add Driftwood and Star-Crossed to the list. I commented on that 5 years ago.
Wow.
Someone said, the most valued list on Letterboxd. Thank you for your service.
Yeah, we're looking like I started with Sex, Lies and Videotape,
Okay.
which I think ties in with. I've had a strange thing with Soderbergh over the years, where I liked Sex, Lies and Videotape when I first saw it, sort of early to mid '90s possibly,
Yeah.
and then have hated every single film of his since.
Soderbergh.
Yes.
Yes.
Up to that one with Claire, what's her name, from The Crown. Unsane was it called? Or something? No, Unsane is
Never
something
heard
like
of
that.
Never heard of it.
Claire, I can't remember her name
Don't
from
know.
The Crown. So that was a 30-year sort of dislike of Soderbergh.
You don't even like the Ocean's 11 or anything
no,
like that?
not really. I try
Okay.
them, and it always, yeah.
Yeah.
So I went back to Sex, Lies and Videotape and still liked it,
Okay.
and then it kicked off from there. Really?
I really should have. Oh, wait. I think I made a list somewhere.
Did you?
I think I did. I think I made a Sleazy Spader Springtime list. In fact, I'm almost certain I did. I just don't know if I kept it up. Sleazy Spader Springtime. It only has 20 films on it.
Okay.
So, yeah, over the last 4 years. So I have to update it. So Jack's Back I gave 3. Dream Lover I gave 2. Supernova I gave 3. Watcher I gave 2. White Palace I gave 2.5. Bad Influence 2.5. New Kids 3. Storyville 3. Starcross 2.5. Speaking of Sex, did you ever see Speaking of Sex
I did
with
see
Bill
that,
Murray
yes.
and
Yes.
yeah, that's a weird one.
Not the
2.
best.
Sex, Lies and Videotapes I gave 3. Tough Turf 3. Eyewitness 3. Alien Hunter 2.5. Wolf 3.5. Driftwood 1.5. 2 Days in the Valley 3. Stick Up 3. Slow Burn 1.5. And Keys to Tulsa 1.5. So in my list, Wolf it was my favourite
yeah, Wolf
Spader
was
so far. But I haven't added the last 3 years of
Right.
Spader to this.
And you've got 29 there, did you say?
There's 20 here because this is
20.
the first 4 years.
I've got 20 Spader films in 2014, according to
Okay.
Xbox. The only person, 16 is the most watched person behind that, is Christopher Walken.
Okay. And what was your highest ranked
So I
Spader
can
film?
then do, yeah, if I then do that, then yeah, Wolf's up there. They're 5s. Yeah. Sex, Lies and Videotape, Wolf, Crash, Secretary. So all the big ones, really, isn't it?
Right.
And then the worst ones. Critical Care, which I've since rewatched and preferred, and I didn't give any stars at all to Bob Roberts.
Okay. I haven't seen that.
I don't think he's in it very much. I think that's what happened there.
See, I think I need to reevaluate this because I give Driftwood the same amount of stars as Slow Burn and Keys to Tulsa.
Right.
And Slow Burn and Keys to Tulsa are far worse than Driftwood by about 500%.
Driftwood, I've given 4.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You're so generous.
So
What was it about Driftwood that really made you...
I don't know. I just
Was it Anna Massey showing up in the flashback and you were
was
like...
amused by it. What do I stay on here?
Yeah, what are you saying then?
I don't think I've ever seen a movie as unintentionally hilarious as this one.
Yes.
It's Misery without the snow and the knolls.
Or anything happening.
However, unlike Misery, it's not really any good.
Right. Yeah,
But I still
nothing
give it
actually
4
happens.
stars. I don't know.
I mean, what's funny is, I don't know whether you have this as you get older, I think you do because we both have that memory issue. I feel like I need to now rewatch Space. I mean, I know I could listen back to the podcast and maybe it would jog my memory, but...
I recall you really not liking it after I'd...
Really?
Yeah. But then I've also given Alien Hunter 3.5.
Oh, that's
Which seems
weird.
very generous for something
It does, for Alien,
But I
for
remember
Alien
being really
Hunter.
poor.
Yes. But Slow Burn and Keys to Tulsa still remain the worst too, I think.
Slow Burn. I got those on here. I must have watched those that year. Yeah, they're not on that year.
Okay.
That's right. Then maybe I slipped into the following year.
So if I just, because as this is the last episode, I feel like we should also do, we are going to talk about the Pentagon Papers, but I also feel like we should do just a bit of a overall kind of chronological look at Spader.
Okay.
Now, did you watch any of the early ones that I haven't seen? Stuff like Endless Love or A Killer in the Family or anything like that?
No, my friend's gone on and on about Killer in the Family being very good.
Oh, really?
But I've not
Because
been
that's
able to find
Mitchum,
it.
right?
Yeah.
Spader's just a...
I think he might be a Mitchum fan. Actually.
Yeah.
That's probably why.
Okay. Because Spader's just a bit part. He's
Yeah.
not a main.
Yeah,
what about Greasy Lake? Did you watch Greasy?
I did. Is that the Stoltz thing?
It's like
on
a
YouTube?
30-minute Stoltz thing, right?
Yes.
Any good?
No, it's shit.
Okay. Sleazy Spader Springtime is technically all feature-length films,
Right, okay.
that star James
Okay.
Spader. And
You have to have your rules.
I have to have my rules, and my problem is that I cannot abide Eric Stoltz. I
Right.
just cannot. He is, to me, he is anti-cinema.
Right.
Like if the only, like Pulp Fiction, I'll give him
Yeah.
for like the few minutes that he's in. But even in Pulp Fiction, I'm like, he's trying too hard
Yeah.
to do the Tarantino patter
Right.
that someone else, Samuel L. Jackson, does effortlessly.
Okay.
Or even John Travolta does effortlessly. And I feel like he's trying so hard that when that scene comes on, I'm like, oh, Stoltz, fuck off. Like, I just...
Okay.
Stoltz to me is an anathema. Like,
You don't have a ginger issue, no?
No, I love the ginge.
Okay.
I myself, before my beard went white,
Okay.
was one of a proud ginge, part ginge.
Okay.
I never had a lot of ginge in the top of my head, but my beard was entirely ginge and very proud of it.
Okay.
Spader is a sort of strawberry blonde.
He does, yes. He does.
He has a little bit of a ginge to him, especially when he takes off his shirt and you're like, oh my god, all the
Yeah.
freckles
Oh, yes, yeah.
and the pasty ginge pubes that he has on his chest.
Yeah.
It's always unpleasant.
Imagine
It's
him
never.
and Stoltz in a similar
Well, I
scenario.
mean,
That
if
would
you
be-
think of Keys to Tulsa, Stoltz has a full frontal scene in that
Yes.
movie, which no one asked for,
No,
one needs, no one wanted, but there it is, clear as the clear as the day, not pleasant at all. So let's just go through very quickly, and we're just going to give knee-jerk like reappraisals of each movie. So.
Right.
Tough Turf, that's really his first starring role.
Yes.
And I think an excellent, fun, weird, because it's one of those movies that comes out at the height of the Brat Pack or around about the height of the Brat Pack, and yet it's like Brat Pack exploitation. It's like Grindhouse Brat Pack almost. It's not, there's nothing mainstream about it.
No.
It's kind of... violent and weird and whatever. And I quite like it. I think Tough Turf it's one of his better ones.
Yeah, although I did get it mixed up with the other one earlier, so
New
I'm not
Kids.
really sure which.
Well, Tough Turf is Downey Jr. and him starting a new high school, and
Yeah.
he gets bullied and then fights them all in a warehouse at the end with a drum kit. And then the New Kids, which follows on from Tough Turf,
That's the what? Yeah.
he plays the bully, and he wears that blue cowboy shirt with the
Right.
white piping and drives around in a pickup truck with his like leering buddies who are like Spader, and it's
that one is better. Yeah.
yes, and it's Laurie Loughlin, who had obviously become
Yes.
famous for paying to have her kid get into university, and then it's Shannon Presby,
Yes.
because that's a person who I've never heard of at all, but did do one of the voices on Cowboy Bebop,
Okay.
the anime show. It's written by Stephen Gyllenhaal. Is he the father of...
No, would he be?
Well, how many Gyllenhaals are there
True.
in the world? Let's have a look. Is
Or
he
Gillen
the...
Halley? I don't know. That's
Oh, yeah, sorry, Gyllenhaal.
according to Letterboxd. I liked New Kids more than Tough Turf,
Okay, so get this.
and I liked his hair quite a lot in it.
The New Kids is written by Maggie Gyllenhaal's dad.
Wow.
And years later in Secretary...
Oh, that's
Can you imagine being Stephen Gyllenhaal and being like, I wrote for that punk kid back in the 80s and now he's all over my daughter like a soggy rash. like a moistened robe or something. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Where you go...
That puts
he
a
is-
new thing on New Kids. Hasn't
Yes,
it? Now
he
watching
has
New Kids will
pretended
be-
to pleasure himself against the buttocks of my
Yes.
daughter. Which, I have to say, if that's the case, well, it is the case. Stephen Gyllenhaal is the father of Jack and Maggie Gyllenhaal. I had never put that together before, but that's quite a wonderful revelation this late in my Sleazy
Yes.
Spader knowledge. Star-crossed,
Yeah.
It was another TV movie, but basically he has to fuck an alien woman or something. What was your memories of Star-Crossed? If any?
None.
None? Okay. Scarves and pool halls, that's all I remember. Pretty in Pink.
Pretty in Pink watched again recently.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Needs more Spader, basically. It needs to be him and needs more of him, needs more of what's her name? Janine from Ghostbusters.
Oh yes, Annie Potts.
Yeah. Needs completely less of
John Cryer.
And there's that bit, it's not relevant to Spader, there's that bit where Potts gives what's it called? Ringwald her dress.
Yes.
Which she completely fucking ruins.
Ruins, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that.
No.
Here's what I think about Pretty in Pink. Pretty in Pink to me is, you know how bad the end of The Breakfast Club is? I love The Breakfast Club. I absolutely love it. And the very end with Judd Nelson fist bumping as he walks away, iconic. But the ending where they take Ali Sheedy, who is incredibly attractive as like a fucked up goth, and then make her look like, I don't know, God knows what. Like I mean, I honestly, they don't make her look attractive. They don't make in any way at all make her look attractive at the end of the movie. I have such a visceral reaction to the fact that that's even part of that film. I feel like it ruins everything that film is trying to say about youth identity and whatever. I feel like Pretty in Pink is the end of The Breakfast Club just stretched out over a whole movie. Because I'm like, if you think I'm watching this movie and I want Ducky to end up with Ringwald, I mean, are you insane? Like, there's nothing interesting about Ducky at all. And look, I'm not going to say that I wasn't at some point in my life probably a bit of a Ducky. I probably was. Meaning, I wore a lot of ludicrous clothing and lusted after women who would never, ever give me the time of day. I'm not going to say that it isn't accurate. I'm just going to say that I don't want to watch it on film.
Yeah, it's not what I want to see. I want to see Spader.
Yes.
Spader, Potts.
Yeah, because he shows up in his soft top car with his cigarette hanging out of his mouth and his pale blue suit with his floppy hair. Yeah. And you just go, well, Ringwald would strip naked right there and then and be like, take me in the grass of the high school. Because there's no way on earth that any woman would be like, no, give me Andrew McCarthy, who is as bland as a sheet of cardboard.
To the point that I'd even forgotten the McCarthy element there, hadn't I?
Right, yeah. Because he's so... I like McCarthy in St. Elmo's Fire, and I like McCarthy in Weekend at Bernie's. But for some reason in Pretty in Pink, he's the dullest man who ever existed. He's almost up there with... Jim and I used to like to say that the blandest man in show business was Mark Blucas, who is a very little-known actor who was on 3 seasons of Buffy towards the end as one of her love interests, and he's the blandest man. Yeah. He's weirdly in Night and Day, the Tom Cruise, Cameron Diaz movie. Oh, yeah. And you're just like, who decided to put Blucas in there? Well, McCarthy is pure Blucas in Pretty in Pink, so I've no time for it at all. And I agree with you. I think it's one of the big missteps of John Hughes' career.
And it's not a film I would have watched if it wasn't for Spader. I would never have seen it.
No, of course not. But did you hear our fan theory that we think the Spader of Pretty in Pink is the same Spader in Less Than Zero?
Right.
I think that's the same character. Because essentially he's this sort of Machiavellian rich kid who's sort of screwing with the lives of lesser beings. Yes. And that's sort of what he is in both movies to some extent. Okay, Mannequin. One of my favourite Spader performances. Mannequin. I think he's him doing the... Because it's a very Python-esque performance, I feel like. He's got the slick down hair.
Lithgow-esque. I think he saw Santa Claus the movie, without a doubt.
Oh, is that what you think it is?
Okay. Following, it's 2 years after, or year, but yeah. He saw Lithgow and Santa Claus the movie, and there you go.
I'll have to watch Santa Claus. You mean the one with Dudley Moore in it?
Yes.
I have not seen that literally since it came out. So I haven't seen that. Oh, okay. So
it's a Christmas Eve staple in our house.
Excellent. Well, I love that. The Lunns sitting down around a... Do you have a hearth in your house?
There's no hearth. No.
There's no hearth.
No.
The TV itself acts as a hearth.
Yes.
With Lithgow and Dudley Moore and...
Huddleston.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. That's what a warming image. That's beautiful. Well, I haven't seen that. So when I saw Mannequin, I thought of it more as sort of... It's very Terry Jones-ish his performance in it to me, and I loved it. I think it's one of his best performances. I'm a big fan of cult Kim Cattrall movies, so I love her in Porky's and Police Academy and Mannequin and Split Second, and Big Trouble in Little China, of course. She's in Star Trek 6.
Right.
She had a run, and then Sex and the City to me ruined Cattrall for me. Not for her, but for me. Like, for her, it was a huge payday. For me, I'm like, Cattrall, you were on the...
Yeah, it started well, but then it went...
So Mannequin, I think big points for me. I would give Mannequin quite high
points. It's still ridiculous, but...
Now, Baby Boom, this is another sleazy office Lothario role, right? Before Diane Keaton moves out to the country. He's in it for like a hot second.
I had decided not to watch Baby Boom ever again after the last time I watched it.
It's not good.
No, not for me.
But he's in it for like 2 minutes, right?
Yes.
And it's weird that after something like The New Kids, Tough Turf and Star-Crossed, that he goes back to playing bit parts in bigger movies.
Yeah, but you know.
Yeah.
Payday. It's a payday.
Continuing that trend, we have Less Than Zero.
Love that.
I'm in two minds about the movie, but I think he's very good in it.
I think I loved it. From memory, I love it. That's the.
I like that. He makes Robert Downey Jr. blow people for blow people for drugs. He's like, you'll do blowies, right, for crack. Then we have Wall Street. I mean, he's barely in Wall Street, right? Is he in Wall Street very much?
Is he in Wall Street?
Apparently so.
Oh, okay.
But he's not one of the main three.
No.
He's not Douglas, Sheen, and whoever the other one is. So we'll skirt over that. Jack's back, though. Now he's back in leading role, and I had a lot of fun with Jack's back. I enjoyed Jack's back immensely, I think.
I think I did, yes.
I mean, I only gave it 3 stars, but I think it was a strong 3 stars.
Yeah. That's the one with the 2 where he's there twice.
Yes.
You get 2 for the price of 1. What more could you want?
Sex, Lies and Videotape, again, love Spader, but it doesn't... It almost mutes his sleaze a little bit.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because you sort of want it to go full, like, erotic at a certain point, and it doesn't. It's a lot of him sitting around talking.
Yeah, and filming Andy McDowell.
Yeah, and you sort of want it to be pervier than it is.
Yeah.
Because you can't... You call a movie Sex, Lies and Videotapes, and every 14-year-old boy in the country is like, great, let's rent Sex, Lies and Videotapes.
It was pervy when I first watched it.
Right.
I guess it's...
Well, because they're talking about pervy things, but you really want to see them doing pervy things, and they don't do that. Soderbergh, he wets your whistle, but doesn't give you a full meal, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm bothered by that. As a bit of a sleaze pop myself. Okay. But not to take it away. I mean, it's fine.
No, I like it, and it put me. Andy McDowell. I've been a fan of McDowell.
Sure.
The only fan of Andy McDowell, I think, in the country. A lot of people don't.
Well, she's not a good actor.
No.
But she's beautiful, and she's been in some great movies.
Yeah.
She's in The Player, which is one of my favourite movies. She's in Groundhog Day.
Yes. I can live without 4 weddings.
She's the weak link in Groundhog Day, but she's in Groundhog Day, I think. My favourite thing about Andy McDowell is in Spaced, when Mike, the Nick Frost character, is going to try out again for the TA. He's trying to get back into the TA. He's in the waiting room before he goes into the meeting with the head of the thing.
Yeah.
And he's trying to psych himself up. And he goes, I'm Andy McNabb. I'm Andy McNabb. And then he goes, I'm Andy McNabb. And then he goes, I'm Andy McDowell. Shit. And it's him he's trying to be like Andy McNabb, the guy who obviously was, and then he goes, I'm Andy McDowell. And he goes, shit. And it's just the way, it was my favourite line in Space. The Rachel Papers, again, can anyone explain, the Rachel Papers is a weird one. I remember my sister renting it way back when. Dexter Fletcher is the main character in that, and he looks 12.
Yes.
And has looked 12
pretty much ever since.
For 30 years until now.
Yeah.
And he has a lot of cavorting around with Ione Skye.
Yes.
My problem with this movie, therefore, is how on earth does a casting agent go, well, we'll have Dexter Fletcher as the main guy, and Spader as just the American guy who drops in and out for 30 seconds. No. you have Ione Skye, either that, or if you want to explain why Spader and the woman are in England rather than in America, cast an English actress, cast like a bit of English totty as the main one, have Spader having all the sex scenes, and have Dexter Fletcher as the boyfriend who shows up and everyone hates. Because I don't want to watch a movie where Dexter Fletcher and Ione Skye get naked. I have no interest in that at all. He's only in it for like 5 minutes, and it's very, very weird. So not interested in that one. Bad Influence.
That's the low one, yeah?
That's
I think
the
Lowe's more of a weirdo in that, isn't he?
He is. So another through line of a lot of Spader films is one person manipulating another person.
Right.
So, for example, we covered Shadow of Fear recently. He's the manipulator in that one. But in Bad Influence, Lowe is manipulating Spader. So Spader's not a complete novice at the beginning of the movie, but he's certainly a little naive, but then kind of gets taken on this sort of Faustian journey almost, with Lowe being kind of the devil trickster in his ear, and him being, but Spader sort of slowly becoming embroiled in. Do you have any memories of that? Not really. No. White Palace, I think at the time we talked about White Palace. What was your feeling on it? I'll tell you my feeling.
It's an odd one, isn't it? It's kind of, it seems to be, it's more of a big Hollywood one where it's meant to be, a big sort of sexual thing, but
it's based on a book written by a Jewish guy about being a nebbish Jewish guy in a Jewish fraternity who lusts after women but never gets them, and then he meets a broken older like diner waitress who always wanted to be Marilyn Monroe but is just a broken diner waitress, and they start a love affair. Neither Spader nor Sarandon are, like, Spader's not nebbish and nerdy enough, and Sarandon is not broken enough. She's too attractive and voluptuous, and he's too attractive and waspy. Who's the casting agent who, when they go, it's a book about a Jewish fraternity, well, we've got to get that well-known Jew. Now, if you'd cast Mandy Patinkin or something... That would, I don't know, is Pentagon Jewish? I feel like he could at least pass for Jewish, even if he's not. But he's of the era, he's of the age, he could have... But when you see Spader walking along with George Costanza, Jason Alexander as his best friend, I'm like, no, these two don't go together. Like, it just doesn't work. So that was my... White Palace is great because during a sex scene, Spader wafts a stale sandwich in his face, which is absolutely glorious. I also heard someone review it once where they said Spader spends the entire movie going down on Sarandon. Now, there's only one cunnilingus scene in the whole movie. But that person clearly stopped watching.
That was it,
He just rewound over that bit over and over. True Colours, I just covered with Mo Porn, so we'll be talking about that. In fact, by the time this episode airs, people will have just heard me talk about it. True Colours, I feel, is the anti-Spader because it's the one movie which has so little sleaze in it. Because Cusack just sucks the sleaze out of the room, I think. But it is... True Colours does start Spader's political... Because obviously Boston Legal is very political. True Colours is political. The Pentagon Papers, which we're going to talk about in a minute, are very political. I feel Bob Roberts, obviously, political. But Storyville, he plays a would-be politician, right? So I feel like there's a little. I think Spader. I always look for through lines. I think that's something. Storyville, I have no memory of, but it's basically him playing kind of a Kennedy-like Southern politician who gets embroiled in a sex scandal.
I have a vague memory of that.
Very vague, right? But again, it's sort of a then he does the Music of Chance, which is really the weirdest of...
That's the Durning thing, yeah? Or no?
Durning, M. Emmett Walsh, Mandy Patinkin, and James Spader. They are in a car accident. They wind up in a big stately home. And two old men I think, like, kidnap them and force them to build a wall.
Yes, that's correct. Yes. It seems like some kind of Beckett kind of thing, doesn't it?
Right, exactly. Yes, it's sort of got a Waiting for Godot type feel to it. And it shouldn't work, but it weirdly does. I seem to remember quite enjoying it a little bit.
I think I half enjoyed it for a moment. I don't know.
But it's an odd one. I mean, of all his career, it's a little. He doesn't do a lot of existential, angsty art films, and that was one. What have we got? We've got Dream Lover. It's meant to be sort of a Fatal Attraction type of thing. It doesn't really work, I don't think.
No, it's got Major Namick though.
She's wonderful.
Yeah,
and he's wonderful. But I think when she turns the tables on him, he's not very good at playing that. Right. He's not good at playing desperate. And I think that's what bothered me about the film. Like, I seem to remember a scene at the end where she's in a institution or something. He comes and visits her, and she's, like, blackmailing him by a tree or something. And he's meant to, like, spaz out a bit, but he doesn't. I felt like he couldn't play that. Yeah. I don't know why. I have that memory in my head. But wonderful. So, I mean, if you want to see two pretty people, have glossy mid-90s or early 90s nookie.
Yeah, then you're there.
Wolf, wonderful.
I love Wolf.
Wonderful performance.
My favourite Nicholson in there as well.
I mean, Spader versus Nicholson
is a fantastic.
With Pfeiffer. Yeah, and Spader gets to be a bit of a werewolf himself, right?
The wolf stuff is maybe a bit silly, but then that's werewolf movies, surely.
I love Nicholson bounding through the wood with his sideburns. I think it's absolutely tremendous. I would have loved to have seen more bounding Spader. There isn't enough.
No, there's not, is there?
Bounding or slithering.
Yeah, and the bit with the bathroom scene where he pisses on his shoes.
Maybe he could have become a were-lizard.
Yes.
Spader could have become like Creature of the Black Lagoon, except pervy.
Yeah.
Well, the Creature of the Black Lagoon's a little pervy because he goes after the woman.
Yeah.
But imagine basically Spader's skin goes all scaly except for his face because you can't cover up the money.
No.
You can't cover up the money maker.
You need the space, yes.
Stargate, it's fine.
Yeah. I don't think I've seen it since cinema. I saw it in the cinema and I don't think I've seen it since.
I think the expectation of Spader Russell in a big Roland Emmerich sci-fi epic should yield more than it actually does when you watch it. Although I think, again, it's another movie that hinges on Spader having sex with aliens. Isn't there one point where he's held up as like a conquering hero or something? I forget.
As I say, it came out mid-90s, isn't it? I haven't seen it since then.
So, we've got Crash.
I like Crash.
Crash is good. It's certainly... That's where Spader is just like, oh, this is it. The sleaze is on. There's no hiding it at this point. I am a disturbing cinematic presence.
Yes.
And everyone from the mid-90s onwards just has to deal with it.
Definitely.
Driftwood, we've kind of spoken about.
Yeah.
Keys to Tulsa, hands down the worst. Keys to Tulsa and Slow Burn are my two worst Spader films of all time. I couldn't tell you what happens in either of them.
I can't remember Slow Burn. Did I see Slow Burn?
Although I think Keys to Tulsa, he wears a tracksuit. That's what I remember.
Okay. Oh, yes. I think you're right.
And isn't Keys to Tulsa and both Slow Burn one of the few times Spader has dark hair? He dyes his hair dark and has a mustache. I believe so.
Oh, he does in Tulsa, yes, definitely.
Yes. And I think by dyeing his hair black, he has ruined whatever essence Spader has on screen, because I'm not a fan of that one at all.
I don't think I've seen Slow Burn.
Critical Care we just covered.
Critical Care I didn't like the first time, but the rewatch I did enjoy it.
Well, because I think it's an odd satire, because it's not like it's odd tonally, because it's not a laugh-a-minute satire.
No.
It doesn't make its point particularly strongly. There are some very effective scenes, but I seem to remember it veering from cartoonish nonsense with Albert Brooks to kind of quite quite heart-wrenching scenes.
Poignant sort of.
And I feel like it didn't manage the ups and downs of that particular.
And as you said, the opportunity of the Spader.
How do you have Spader and Mirren in a film and neither of them? Like, it's just, it's unforgivable. It All Came True, or Curtain Call, which is the infamous. I've spoken about this before.
I loved that when I watched it, and it was a YouTube version. I thought it was wonderful.
I liked it. I didn't like it enough to defend it against Jim's constant attacks.
I thought it was great.
But I liked it a lot.
It's criminal it's not available in the UK. I can't.
Yeah, because is it Maggie Smith as well?
Maggie Smith, yep.
And Mark O'Kane. Mark
O'Kane and the lady from Line of Duty, Jill from Line of Duty.
Oh, okay. I don't know her.
That's the...
okay.
Yeah. I need that. I need a copy of that.
Supernova, which I feel like, like that documentary about the Superman movie that never was.
Yes. Which I still haven't seen. Again, in the UK,
it's very
not
good.
Available.
I'm
glad you enjoyed it.
No, I think I donated to it and got a digital copy or whatever. But Supernova is a movie that requires a full-blown documentary about it because it's Francis Ford Coppola and Walter Hill.
Oh, right.
Who put it together.
Yeah.
But they're not who ultimately ended up making and delivering the movie.
Yeah.
I don't know the full story behind it, and I'm aching for the full story behind it. It's Spader, Robin Tunney, Bassett, who's one of my Angela Bassett, who I absolutely adore. Yes, not
not the sweet.
Not the sweet. Not the weird man made out of licorice all sorts. Yeah, Jack Shoulder is the one that finally
and he's
finishes
Elm
the
Street
movie.
2, isn't he?
Yes, known for The Hidden, Elm Street 2, Alone in the Dark. Jack Shoulder, he finally finishes it off. But it was mounted by Walter Hill and Francis Ford Coppola. But stuff happened behind the scenes. So I would love to know about that. Peter Fasinelli is the other
I like him.
actor in it.
Yes,
the guy who famously played...
I think I liked that then, yeah.
Didn't he play a eunuch in one of the movies?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, and Forster.
Lou Diamond Phillips.
Yeah.
I feel like it was meant to be a sci-fi film that was meant to be like a huge deal.
Yeah.
And then something fell through and it kind of limped straight to video sort of thing. That's what it was. But I want to know more about it.
And with the sci-fi, maybe off the back of Stargate.
Yes. But I think Supernova is one that I think is ripe for rediscovery. I think I need to go back and watch it again. Then we get The Watcher, which is Keanu Reeves playing a bad guy. It's a mess of a film. It's not particularly wonderful. It's certainly, of all his straight-to-video, he's playing a detective or playing a lawyer or whatever. It's at least, in the top 10. It's like it's watchable. The Watcher is watchable, but I'm not going to say it's a great movie. Then we have Slow Burn, and speaking of, Slow Burn is awful. It's interminable. It's Spader and Minnie Driver, and I cannot really abide Driver either.
No, she's sort of Driver.
She's sort of one of those that I'm just like, who the fuck gave her any time of day? I will give her Grosse Pointe Blank, because I think in Grosse Pointe Blank, I think she's really playing to her strengths. But from what I remember is her and Spader walk around the desert shouting at each other, and then I fell asleep. It was not a good movie. Speaking of sex, is like Americans do Carry On, right? Yeah. That's basically what it is. Not very good at all. Then we get Secretary, which is probably his crowning achievement.
Yes.
In terms of putting the sleaze on Front Street.
Yes.
And, as we said, gets to rub up against the daughter of the man he once acted for years earlier. The stick-up. Now, I remember quite enjoying the stick-up.
Yes, I think I like that, yeah.
He also has a bathtub sequence, which is quite... See, what the things I remember from each Spader movie are not the plot. It's all to do with, did Spader get it on with a chick? Stick-up is great. Then we come to the Pentagon Papers.
Yes.
And we just watched the Pentagon Papers today.
Yeah.
I had never seen it before or didn't know anything about it. And I know quite a lot of American history, and I know quite a lot of, especially around sort of the 60s and 70s, so the sort of JFK, Vietnam stuff. I've seen all those movies, and I feel like Vietnam, especially, is a movie that's a war that's been done almost to death at this point. And everyone's had their own take on it. This was based on essentially a very big, long document that was drawn up by multiple sort of think tanks and government organizations and da-da-da-da-da, that basically says, well, the war's a sham, but don't tell anyone, kind of thing. Or the war's a loser, and don't tell anyone. And it sort of explains that 4 presidents in a row understood that it was a loser, yet still weirdly went ahead and tried to wage it.
Yeah.
Even though they knew full well that what they were doing was not right. Spader, this is a unique movie because Spader plays a real life person. Mm-hmm. He perms or curls or wigs up or has extensions or something.
What goes on with that hair?
His hair in quite a ridiculous bouffant way. And when you see the real guy in the video footage at the end...
It's accurate.
It's quasi-accurate, but he didn't have the height or the weight.
No.
He had the curls, but he was much thinner.
But Spader would want to go further.
Yes.
Deeper into the character.
Spader was like, the most I'll do to look like this guy that I look nothing like
You look nothing like him at all.
is I'll have some curly hair. That's about it.
Definitely.
And what's funny was I feel like as we were watching it, you and I were both like, well, this looks like just a cheap made-for-TV movie. Yes. It didn't strike us as particularly accurate. No. There was not much attempt to make the period seem...
It didn't look like the 60s at all.
Like when you think of JFK, and I understand that JFK is set both in the 60s and then later. Because the Garrison case is not till later. But it seems very authentic.
Yeah, whether we've been spoiled, but maybe we've been spoiled by Mad Men, and that's very authentic, and all the set design and production values. This was cheaper.
Right, this was a made for FX, and I think it was 2003. I don't know when FX started as a network unto itself. It's sort of the adult HBO version of Fox.
Right.
So Fox is now mainly known for Fox News. But Fox News is its own entity. Mm-hmm. You have 20th Century Fox, then you had like the Fox network, which was, along with ABC, NBC, and CBS, the 4 public-owned networks that used... they were the 4, like BBC One, BBC Two, ITV, and Channel 4. They were like the 4 networks. Yeah. And then FX was sort of the slightly more adult, slightly more... take a chance kind of cable channel that came out of Fox. I don't know when it started, but I get the feeling that this is early on in its
I think so.
career, right? Because now FX does like American Horror Story, I think. It did Louis before CK got cancelled. But round about the time that AMC was doing Mad Men and Walking Dead, FX suddenly was like, oh, we need to get... And then they started doing more series. 2003, though, was pretty early, I think, in FX.
TV movie.
I feel like there wasn't the money there.
Yeah.
But it does have a pretty starry cast. Mm-hmm. You get Giamatti as his sort of hippie radical friend. Yeah. You get Alan Arkin as his...
Nice bow tie.
Nice bow tie. Again, Alan Arkin, who even back in 2003 was still playing like the old professorial type. I feel like Alan Arkin played like the young, naive whippersnapper boob for like the first half of his career. And the second half of his career, he's just played like cuddly old Uncle Alan kind of thing. And I love Alan Arkin. I think Alan Arkin is fantastic. And he actually was Emmy nominated for this role. The only person in the whole cast who was Emmy nominated.
Not much out that year then, I guess.
No, I guess not. He didn't win, though. He was nominated, but he didn't win. Spader as the main guy. Dan Ellison? Or
I think so, yeah.
Who is he playing in? Daniel Ellsberg.
Oh, right.
So Dan Ellsberg. We get Claire Filani.
Yes.
Sort of adrift in the late 90s, early 2000s, a sort of why is anyone putting her in stuff? But they did. They continued to try. It's like I was saying recently, about who's that guy they keep trying to put in stuff that I fucking hate? Glenn Powell.
Oh, yes.
Like, can we stop making Glenn Powell a thing? And Claire Forlani was one of those like 90s, early 2000s actresses that I was like, we don't need to make her a thing.
No.
Like, no.
She's completely forgettable in this.
Completely. You need, and it's also interesting because I think the bit of information that we need to always remind ourselves is that Spader, when in Massachusetts growing up, palled around with John Kennedy Jr. And so I feel like not only with his politics, but also with some of the films he does, I think he likes kind of playing around in that oeuvre, because she's sort of a bit Jackie O-ish.
Yeah.
A little, right? Do you know what I'm saying here? I think a little bit. So Alan Arkin, Claire Forlani, Spader, Paul Giamatti. Who else? Kenneth Welsh.
Kenneth Welsh, Wyndham Earle,
Yeah, who you love.
But not being very, he's an actor that can do stuff, and that is.
Oh, he was very short-changed.
He was just there. It could have been anyone.
I mean, really, only Spader and Giamatti really get to do anything.
Both have strange hair.
Both have very strange hair. They've decided that they want to go for full skullet for Giamatti, where he has the long hair down the back and bald up the front, and I'm just... Reggie Bannister from Phantasm
I was going to say that.
Can pull it off.
Yep.
And your man who went on to become a governor of somewhere, who was in... Jesse Ventura.
Yes.
The wrestler who was in...
governor of Minnesota.
Minnesota, right. Ventura can pull it off. Not many people can pull off the skullet.
No.
And Giamatti not pulling it off. And it's always one of those things where I feel like a costume designer and a makeup artist.
Yeah.
If, he put on his costume and then he went across to makeup and he put on his makeup. When he stepped out of the makeup trailer, didn't everyone in the crew go, "Oh, come on, you can't put that on screen as a serious." You know what I'm saying, right? Yeah. Sometimes I watch these movies and I go, "Who okayed that?"
Yes. Well, it wasn't even. I mean, Reggie Bannister.
That's his hair.
Yeah, that's it. I know it's his hair, but that's the limit of acceptability of that kind of do.
Yes. Yes.
They were going for that, I think, but they should have just got Reg.
Reg would have been great in this role. I love Giamatti, but Reg, I mean, can you imagine Reg and Spader? Like, it would have been wonderful. What is mostly odd about this film is when we finished it, I read up a bunch in the trivia. Mm-hmm. And apparently, Daniel Ellsberg is a real guy who, really did... He basically photocopied some top secret documents because he was so offended by what was happening with the war. Yes. Shot them to the New York Times and the Washington Post. The Tricky Dicky, the Richard Nixon, tried to shut down both papers from publishing it. Mm-hmm. The Supreme Court says, no, you cannot infringe the rights of a free press. So they are able to publish the rest of them. And then the judge in Spader's case basically calls a mistrial.
Yeah.
And makes Spader go free. Even though Spader's on the hook for treason, possible life imprisonment, etc., he just gets off.
And it almost doesn't sound like a true story in that sense, does it?
Right. Well, this was my problem with it, is that it ends with a whimper, not a bang.
Yeah.
There is no... the thing that's amazing about JFK is we don't know who killed JFK.
Yeah.
Yet, you come away from that movie going, oh, I know. You come away from that movie going, oh, it just... Even as you get... But once you get older, you kind of go, oh, that's ridiculous, and that's nonsense, and Oliver Stone made that up, and that's a bunch of lies, and that's exaggerated truth, and that's Hollywood bullshit. You still love the movie because there's enough energy to it. There's just, and every 5 minutes there's a Tommy Lee Jones or a Jack Lemmon or and they've all got a tasty scene like Jack Lemmon at the racetrack is a tasty scene. Donald Sutherland in DC is a tasty scene. The last 40 minutes in the courthouse with Kevin Costner grandstanding about the magic, but it's a tasty scene.
And to the left.
Back and to the left, right. I remember being a teenager watching JFK and finishing it and being like, when those documents become, at the end it says like the documents will become public knowledge in
That's soon.
whatever. I go, when they become public, I'm going to America.
Yeah.
Like, I got really excited.
Yeah.
I got very excited about it. Obviously, now that I'm an adult and I know how bureaucracy works and, how governments are culpable and also hollow and villainous, most of them, I don't care as much. But back then it was, you get to the end of the Pentagon Papers and you go, well, that was a thing. That happened.
Nice hair.
Nice hair. Good hair. I like the hair. And I suppose I understand the point of the film. Dissent does not mean disloyal or whatever that phrase is. Don't confuse treason with dissent or whatever, or don't confuse hating your country or dissent with hating your country or whatever it is. But it's not an interesting enough character study. It's not an interesting enough study of the times.
Yeah.
I don't know. You tell me. What did you think?
Yeah,
about
I mean, I hated it the first time. I'm not sure if I actually finished it. I was bored of it.
Okay.
I enjoyed it this time, I think, because of the hair.
The hair
and because I was watching it with you.
Yes.
And we could discuss it. I think I watched it on my own the first time, and yeah.
Oh, so, yeah, so difficult to watch on your own.
If you want to enjoy it, then, enjoy the hair and watch with you.
Right.
I mean, that's
Everyone come round
that's
to my
the only
house
way
and
it seems to work.
It's
Otherwise, it's boring.
Otherwise, it is boring. And it's boring, I think, because does it tell us something new? I don't know whether it tells us something new. I mean, it does to some extent. I think it was a little revelation to me that there were... First of all, I'd never heard of the Pentagon Papers. Like,
Right.
I'd never heard of... Which, considering someone who prides himself as knowing quite a lot about American history and Vietnam and JFK and that whole era especially, I find it odd that I've never heard of them.
Isn't it funny he's been in the Pentagon Papers and the Rachel Papers?
One of the trivia on the Pentagon Papers is James Spader also starred in the movie with a similar name title, The Rachel Papers. Right. And you're like, neither of them have anything to do with each other at all. But yes, he has starred in 2 movies that end with the word papers. If he'd starred in The Paper, it would have been a trifecta, but with Michael Douglas. Yeah, it's a weird one because I'm kind of, it is interesting to know that the presidency was, because at one point he says it's not the government, it's the office, meaning the Senate and the House weren't part of it. Mm-hmm. It was very much the presidency, whether it was Eisenhower or Johnson or Nixon or Kennedy, it was them pushing for it. Mm-hmm. For their own political ends, rather than it being it's not a conspiracy. Mm-hmm. It's not thousands of people covering stuff up. It's like, a few guys at the very top covering it up. And I suppose that's an interesting bit of information. I mean, not that I didn't think that the presidency was corrupt. I know it is, but or at least compromised. But to have it confirmed is interesting. I think what's weird is we got to the end of the movie and thought, well, okay, that was sort of a cheap TV version of like JFK Light was sort of how we took it. Yeah. Yet when you read the trivia, and again, I don't know how much this is accurate, but when you read the trivia, the producer, who didn't reach out to any of the real people until after the movie was made, the producer, when he showed it to Daniel Ellsberg, apparently Daniel Ellsberg was... First of all, Daniel Ellsberg's autobiography, which did come out shortly after this movie, was not out when they made the movie. Mm-hmm. But the producer was very sure to try and make some things weirdly accurate in the point that apparently, and again I say apparently, the sequences in Vietnam that when we watched them, we thought they were hilarious because it looked like they were just running around some woodland in California or whatever. apparently, the producer went as far as to figure out times of day that he was in the bush fighting, the way people were dressed, the topography of the location, things that were said. Apparently Ellsberg watched the Vietnam sequences that we openly laughed at.
Yes.
And said they were one of the most accurate things he'd ever seen. Which, I don't know if he's saying that to try and sell the movie or if it's true, but isn't that baffling? I mean, having watched it...
Or was he high as a kite at the time?
I don't know. Because people don't know this, but years ago when I finished sixth form college, when I finished university rather, I made a feature-length comedy movie called Zombie! And in it, because I wanted my friends to play ridiculous American soldiers and I wanted to do a bunch of jokes about Americans and stuff.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to get guns in the film, and there's no way to do guns in England back then. I know now there are more guns because I see armed police in London all the time now. Yeah. But back in the day, there were armed response units, but there wasn't guns in England in the same way. So, like Shaun of the Dead, no one's like shooting zombies until they pull the gun down in the Winchester. In my movie, which I wrote before Shaun of the Dead, I was like, well, I can't have my students on the run from zombies wielding guns and things, but maybe I'll have like a troop of American soldiers who are like dropped into this zombie infestation to kind of stop it from becoming an outbreak. But the idea was that the Americans would send the most useless of soldiers. Like, they so didn't care about England that they just sent a hodgepodge of weirdos to defend it. And in the midst of all this, my friend John Wallace, who was playing the main sergeant of the little troop of American soldiers, has a flashback about Vietnam, because of course he does, because of course you want to do a flashback about Vietnam. And we just went into the woods around High Wycombe with him in like fatigues and filmed, we put it in black and white, whatever. We had him walking through the thing with a plastic gun or whatever. Because whatever. The only reason I'm bringing this up, when I watched the Pentagon Papers, I was like, that's basically what I did. Making zombies. I just got a bunch of people in. We went down to the local army surplus stall at the market. We used to have a Saturday market in town, and it had a little army surplus store. And I just bought the cheapest shit they had. A few green things, a few camouflage things, a little hat thing, and couple of gun holders and things like that, and little canteens, and that's what we think. And we just filmed it in black and white as in walking through some woodland that had kind of hanging vines, so that it looked a little bit more Asian, I suppose, or Asian topography rather than High Wycombe. And that's how I felt about the Pentagon Papers. Yet here's Daniel Ellsberg, who literally went out into the killing fields for 6 months and said it was the most accurate depiction he'd ever seen. I'm like, have you seen Apocalypse Now? Have you seen Platoon? Have you seen... Like, did he watch those movies?
I think he was just being nice.
You think that's what it was?
I think he's just being as nice as he could about it.
He also claims...
He didn't mention the hair, no?
He never mentioned the hair. Well, not in the trivia on IMDb.
Okay.
I would have to dive deeper, and I'm not sure I'm prepared to do that. He did say that the other scene that was spookily accurate, because he's still with his wife, Claire Filani's character, Patricia, in the film, who, again, weirdly has a boyfriend at 1 minute, shows up at Spader's apartment, sleeps with him, and then we never see him again. No.
That's the power of Spader, I guess.
Yeah. But also, the guy had a line. Like, why pay that actor to have a line? Like, just get him out of the scene. Because one thing, if someone's silent on set, you only have to pay them per diem or whatever, like the whatever you pay them. But if someone says a line, they're then a featured extra, and they get a little like. I would have. He has one line. I would have knocked him on the head. Corridor. Whoever this producer was very liberal, apparently, with his spending. There was a scene at the very beginning where, of course, Spader goes to a big stately home, and of course, a bit of Totty walks across the crowded room. And of course, Spader's like, well, hello, my dear. Like the American Terry Thomas that he is. And that was Fulani. And he's still married to her. But apparently in that scene, even though the producer apparently never contacted Ellsberg, didn't read there was no biography or anything yet, apparently that scene and their dialogue, Patricia and him were watching it and went, how the hell did they know what we said?
Yeah.
And thought it was incredibly accurate. So, for something that to me looked like a fairly cheap TV knockoff of JFK, was apparently, according to the man who was there, the most accurate depiction of America in the 1960s he'd ever seen.
He's either making it up, I think, for the, to try and promote the thing, or maybe some PTSD. I don't know. There's something going on there.
Now, Spader took the role probably for the politics.
Yeah. And the money. And Claire Fulani.
But another film where he doesn't need to be, and yet, throughout the movie, a Lothario.
Yes.
To the point where even Giamatti shows up and says, you could take one of your latest conquests, like a Swedish air stewardess or something. And I'm like, was this guy... is the only thing that's not accurate about it is that there's that Spader brought his sleaze to Ellsberg, and Ellsberg was like, yeah, make me look sleazy.
Yeah, we saw the real guy, I think.
I don't see him looshing its way through Saigon.
No.
What about the fact that in Saigon, he shows up in Saigon, and every single one of his friends or people he's met suddenly...
But according to trivia, that's accurate. That's an accurate thing.
He showed up and Giamatti was there, and I'm like, what? And then you had Fulani shows up.
Yeah.
Because she's doing a radio show.
Just happens to be in the area.
It's only broadcast in New York. It's not even a syndicated national radio show. She's not even a real journalist. She just has... She basically has this podcast, but in New York. That's basically what she has. And she's there surrounded by... 6'4", big-chinned, muscular Navy and military soldiers interviewing them for whatever. Probably swooning over every single one. But no, slightly pudgy, curly-haired, purse-lipped Spader, and she's all over him like a cheap suit, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So... I mean, I don't know that I'll ever watch the Pentagon Papers again, but interesting to know that Spader can even... I'm always interested that even when he's playing a real person, and even when he's in like a TV movie and can't go full bore Crash or Secretary, that he manages to bring the sleaze.
Yeah.
It's unique to him.
It is. And it's what we come back for. It's what we want
It is what we come back for. So, obviously, there are a few more Spader films that we can talk about, but I think basically people get the idea. And I don't want to go on too long, but I also don't want to shortchange people. I just want to quickly look, what else have we got? Eyewitness, Alien Hunter, Shadow of Fear, and then we get into like real bit parts, like Shorts and Lincoln.
Yeah,
and
once he gets a bit older, he's getting shortchanged, isn't he? But he's in Boston Legal then. I mean, it's
once he starts TV, he does The Practice, Boston Legal, and then Blacklist.
And the Blacklist is a good decade, I think, isn't it? So
it's at least 10 seasons. Yeah,
a good sort of retirement package.
It is. There. It's exactly 10 years, 2013 to 2023.
So 2013, so that ties in with that's Spader season in 14.
Right, and so Shadow of Fear we just covered, so I'm going to go with that. So really, Eyewitness, Alien Hunter, and I don't remember much about either of them. Eyewitness has a political bent a little bit.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
All right, so
Alien Hunter's more fun.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Alien Hunter is basically like the Thing without a budget, right?
Yeah.
It's sort of just aliens possessing people. Is that, am I right in thinking that? I don't know. I know, again, he shows up at a space base and happens to immediately bed a woman.
Yeah.
Like within 5 minutes of getting there. Like he shows up.
It's a kind of communion type thing, isn't it? I think it's...
Is it?
Yeah. Okay. I think it's similar to that in a kind of weird
But again, I feel like talking about all these films, I just want to go rewatch them. I just want to bask in the glow of Spader.
You'll be disappointed quite a lot.
Yes. I think that's what we're learning, is that although the
We
lure
love
of
him,
yes, the lure of Spader is there,
but the films he's in are not great a lot of the time.
But I think what I've learned, and we've talked about this a lot in the last few days that you've been visiting me, is that I think what I'm drawn to, and I think I'm learning this more and more and more, it's not so much about the films these particular actors are in, whether it's Pleasance or Wings Hauser or even Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, Spader, whoever, Pam Grier, Angela Bassett, whoever. It's that they're and Michael Moriarty. It's that their presence on screen is unlike almost anything else you see.
Yes.
There isn't, even Stoltze and other people, they don't, Downey Jr. or Rob Lowe or any of them, they don't, Spader is an island unto himself. There just isn't another...
That's true.
There isn't an actor I can think of that went, like in this movie, we see him one end of the pool, there's a swimming pool, he's at a party, at a gathering, he's at one end of a pool, and you see a blonde woman at the other end of the pool, and immediately across his face you're like, oh he's going in for the kill. Now we then find out that it's his wife. Which hasn't been established at all. But even though there's nothing in the script and there's nothing overtly, the camera just settles on Spader.
Yeah.
And he goes from being normal Spader to being like, there she is. And it just immediately becomes like this wolfen lizard, I'm going to possess that woman. You know what I mean? And it's unlike anybody. There's no one else that does it. I can't think of another person that when you're watching them, you go, like every time they so much as look at a woman on screen. I can't. There was, I don't know, but I don't know, David Warner's always a little weird.
Yes, he's always good.
He's sleazy, but he's definitely got that kind of weirdness to him.
Yeah.
But, Spader, and I think that's just what I'm drawn to. I'm just drawn to those kind of performers that have their own thing. So lastly, what I was very happy about, I was Googling a bunch of things today about Spader just to sort of round it out. And I found this, Andy, that I thought you'd be interested in. The Pro Teacher Community Forum.
Right.
Back in September 21st, 2014.
Oh, so that's when I was doing the quest.
Right. Eliza Bennett, so obviously
P&P fan.
a hint to Pride and Prejudice, wrote a post. Is it weird that I find James Spader sexy? I don't know why you're posting that on the Pro Teacher Community.
Yep.
But she is. She says, now that he is bald and older, and I didn't find him attractive when he was young and thin and handsome, I don't like him when he was younger, Brat Pack actor, but now I find him incredibly sexy on the blacklist. Is that weird? Andy, I ask you, is that weird?
Well, different folks, different strokes.
Right. Someone said, no, I feel the same way. He felt fake in his earlier years.
Yeah.
Especially the roles he played. But now he feels comfortable in his own skin and pretty sexy, although his nostrils are uneven.
Are they?
I've noticed his eyes are uneven.
Oh, okay.
But his nostrils I've never noticed.
I don't really look particularly at his nostrils.
His eyes are uneven, so one eye looks straight on.
Yes.
The other eye, ever so... He's not bug-eyed like Marty Feldman, but ever so slightly, the other eye looks off to the right.
Is it looking sort of keeping an eye?
Yes. It's probably the roving eye.
Yeah.
That's what it is. As
Just
Cliff Richard sang about. It's got a roving eye, and that is why... From the...
Oh, I know the tune.
Yes. She says, it's a good thing. Then she says, it's also a good thing that I'm not a nostril woman.
Ah, okay. Is that a thing?
Listen, everything on this earth is a thing, I think. I remember being at college and a guy who I was at college with who was an art major who was incredibly pretentious and likened himself as something of a daring kind of goth S&M
Yeah.
type, once showed me an art book by an artist that was entirely nostril sex.
Really?
So it was nostrils drawn. It was all pen and ink or pencil.
Yeah.
It was nostrils drawn very large and distended, with penises, dongs, members going into them.
Right.
So when she says it's a good thing I'm not a nostril woman,
Yes.
which I think is that was the alternate title to Natural Woman, the song.
Yes, it sounds like a song, doesn't it? You
Make me feel like a nostril woman. Someone else said Freckle Juice. Oh, that's a horrible name. Freckle Juice, who's a senior member.
I think Spader would like freckle-juiced female members.
I agree, although I admit I've always thought he was sexy.
Okay.
76 Lake says, he and Andrew McCarthy were my favourites from the Brat Pack era. I love him in the Blacklist. Oh, Tammy NJ comes in with an alternate response.
Oh.
He grosses me out.
Really?
I never ever thought he was handsome. I hated him and all his hateful characters. Now, Andrew McCarthy, on the other hand, sigh, she says. But I don't think it's weird that someone becomes more attractive as they age. I think some people, usually men, in parentheses, carry themselves differently as they age, more of a gravitas that can be attractive. I tend to like older guys in general, but not James Spader.
Make that clear.
So anyway, if anyone's interested, Google Pro Teacher Community. Is it weird that I find James Spader sexy? Because it is a look into the minds of female teachers who may or may not find James Spader sexy. There's also RPG Net that says, explain to me the sex appeal of James Spader. So I was watching Boston Legal with my girlfriend and another girl last night. Ooh. His girlfriend and another girl.
Interesting.
Watching Boston Legal. And both of them turn into little moist heaps whenever James Spader is on screen. This doesn't seem to be an uncommon view among women I know. Now, I like James Spader just fine, but I am at a loss to see his chubby, smug sex appeal.
Chubby. You see, she may be watching a later series.
Yes. I don't know that we're going to have...
early on.
James Catt says, I have to say, him and William Shatner are awfully cute together, and I like the episode where they end up in bed.
Oh,
okay.
Again,
so,
different folks.
I'm having a hard time not seeing that as two penis costumes.
Really?
Penis costumes? What are
they?
It's probably the flamingos.
Yes. I don't think flamingos are overly penile.
No.
They're pink.
Right.
But other than that...
Yes.
If your penis looks like a flamingo,
right.
I recommend a doctor appointment.
Right. If it gets narrower as it gets to the end and it has a beak...
Yes. Go to the quack.
Go speak to someone. So what I like is, and as we wrap up Sleazy Spader Springtime, there is never not a bad time to Google James Spader. I'm just saying that the wealth of information...
Do you think he has done that?
Oh, every day. Yeah. I imagine he Googles himself daily. All right, this is absolutely the last thing, I promise.
Oh, the end. The end of
the
Sleaze.
Writer's Block Magazine. Students Magazine for Writing, Art and Photography. I don't know when this is from. It doesn't have a date. Oh, no, I do. It is from August 21st, 2017.
Oh.
And they did the top 15 best James Spader performances. And I'm going to run them down for you, and we'll see if we agree. Number 15, Tough Turf.
Okay.
I would probably put that in the top 10, but okay. Yeah, number 14, The New Kids.
Oh, no, the New Kids is higher up.
It is.
Yeah.
Number 13, Curtain Call, or It All Came True.
Oh, I love Curtain Call.
You're a big fan of that, right?
Maybe number 5.
We should have covered that film instead of Pentagon Papers, but okay. Number 11, Storyville.
I can't even remember that one.
Yeah, get it out. Get it out of the top 15.
No memory of that.
Number 10, Bad Influence.
as you said, Cusack is the... Oh, no, that's the Lowe one.
Rob Lowe one.
Rob Lowe.
All I remember about that is there's a big stately home with a big party, and he broadcasts Spader having sex on a giant projector screen for all of his like parents and girlfriend to see.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
Yeah.
Like, it's a horrible humiliation. Like, it's this... I can't even imagine it being a...
But it's still low down in the 15. That's probably,
10, it's 10, yes.
Number
9, Wolf. Now, I would have Wolf in the top 5, right? Definitely. Just for the movie alone, if not for Spader. Yeah. Number 8, Less Than Zero. He's not in it enough.
No, he's not, is he?
He's just not in it enough. He's not a... When he's on screen, he's a very commanding presence, but he's just not... He's not in it enough for my taste.
But yeah, it's not.
Number 7, The Music of Chance. Wow, these people have really done their research, because that's not one you just trip over and find.
No, I'm still not crazy about that one myself.
I'm not crazy about putting it in number 7.
No.
But it does break the black hair rule. It's the one rule where he does have a black hair and a mustache that isn't slow burn and therefore is...
Yeah, that mustache there is impressive.
Yes. Also, considering it's a movie about two men building a wall, they still cram in a sex scene with Samantha...
Mathis?
Mathis.
Of course. Spader, yeah.
2 Days in the Valley.
Oh, 2 Days in the Valley. No, that's not great, is it?
It's a terrible movie, but...
Yes.
He's a hitman. There's no need for him to be sleazy, yet he is.
But he is, yeah.
And Spader got an early Charlize Theron sex scene.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure... Like, can you imagine Theron and Spader now? Like, she is still a statuesque beauty, and he's a blob of sausage meat.
Yes.
But he is very handsome in 2 Days in the Valley.
Yeah.
White Palace, it's not in my top 15 at all. Don't agree with it at all.
No.
I understand why, because they think, you know, there's sex scenes, he wafts a sandwich about.
Yeah, you like the sandwich.
I love the sandwich.
You're all on the sandwich.
Number 4, Pretty in Pink, no.
Well, his bit.
Yes.
Is good.
Yes, it's top 5. It's
not Whizbit.
It's not Whizbit. It's his performances. So they're not judging the movies, they're judging... Okay, fair enough.
He is fantastic in that bit.
He does. He oozes through the film.
More him and Potts is what we want.
Yes. In fact, the movie where him and Potts get together...
Him, Potts and Whizbit.
Yes, and Whizbit get together. Now, surprising... Yes. Oh, not a lot of people. Oh, Whizbit, what are you doing? The lovely Debbie McGee. Nobody knows Paul Daniels anymore. He's not around anymore, is he?
I think he's dead, isn't he?
Did he die?
I think he did. Yeah.
Good. Sorry. Oh, the lovely Debbie McGee. Now, Debbie McGee, Spader would have been all over that.
It's true.
Spader would have been. You would have spread Spader on Debbie McGee like a rich preserve or jam.
Yes.
Number 3, Secretary.
Yes, that
it is, but is it number 3? I feel like it hits the number 1 spot. Surely. I think Secretary is quintessential Spader. I do. I think so.
This all said, I don't know what's top. I don't know what's top for me, really.
Well, number 2 is Crash.
Okay. Crash, maybe, maybe Crash would be my top.
Number 1 is Sex, Lives and Videotapes.
I do like Sex, Lives and Videotapes.
I think I need to rewatch it.
Yeah.
I've seen it 3 times in my life, and each time I instantly forget what it's about.
Right.
It's just a lot of sitting around in you know...
Yes, it's a bit wafty, as you may say.
But, I mean, he's certainly very handsome in it.
Yeah.
You certainly understand during that kind of flouncy, tassel-haired period...
he's got that,
why women would be... But number 1... I'm just not sure. Number 1, it wouldn't be number 1 for me.
No. Watchability is not number 1.
No.
That's probably Wolf.
Yeah. But performance-wise... I'll have to rewatch it. Yeah. But I think there's more to be done. I think what I want to leave the listeners with is, while Sleazy Spader might be ending, I feel like some of these articles about top 15 stuff, or some of these letterbox lists about Spader, I feel like I need to create the quintessential list.
Yes.
And that might involve me going back and rewatching all the films. All right, so we just recorded the full James Spader Pentagon Papers last Sleazy Spader Springtime episode. only to realise that neither Andy nor myself picked anything to go in the Sleazatorium. And how dare we almost end the whole season without going back, delving one more time into the basement horrors of the Sleazatorium. So, Andy, while we were just watching a very odd James Spader interview that he gave on the Sam Roberts show, in which he said very little, except apparently he was broke, which I just find, before he did the Blacklist, like he was penniless, and I just think that's
ridiculous,
a bit bizarre. Even doesn't he get residual checks from Boston Legal?
I think so.
Whatever. Anyway, also like all the movies he's been in.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Anyway, what from the Pentagon Papers, which I agree was not the sleaziest of films, but what from the Pentagon Papers do you think he would have in the Sleazatorium?
I think the blinds. there were some nice little blinds in his office, in his rather empty office.
Yeah.
And he'd just be able to kind of slowly open them.
Okay.
And close them.
Yeah.
Whenever he wanted. And they'd lead into another room in the Sleazatorium with maybe had sort of certain particular items that he particularly cherished.
Right, behind the blinds.
Yeah, so he could, if he wanted to see, I can't remember what was in the other one. You know, there was a towel robe, I think, at one point.
Yeah, there was definitely a robe. There's multiple robes, I think.
So he could slowly open the blind, see little bits of the robe, slowly, as he wanted to, and then quickly release, and it was gone.
So you think he would tease himself?
Yes.
It would be a way to kind of temper his...
He sees these blinds in there. Yes, that'll be good for later.
I went darker with my choice. I went a lot darker.
Uh-huh.
So, you know, in the Vietnam scene,
yes,
they get to the village where everyone has been killed, but there's also a claim that some of the Viet Cong have been killed.
Yes.
But there's no evidence of the Viet Cong being killed. And therefore he doesn't believe it. He just thinks the villagers have just been killed by American soldiers. And he looks around on the floor, and there's sort of a dummy, I assume,
yes,
of sort of a dead fetal Vietnamese villager. I think he has that.
Right.
In the Sleazatorium. I love the blinds idea. I think he definitely has the blinds. I think the blinds are wonderful, and I like that it's sort of a way to tantalize himself.
Yes.
But I think that he occasionally goes down to the Sleazatorium and cuddles with a dummy of a dead fetal Vietnamese woman.
I would think so.
I think that's what I'm putting in there. Yeah. And maybe, I don't know, Claire Filani's nightgown. Maybe he puts the nightgown. Maybe he puts the nightgown on the dead Vietnamese dummy and parades her around as if it's sort of Filani.
Potentially, yes.
What do you think his wife... Well, he doesn't have a wife now, but his girlfriend, his long-term girlfriend, do you think she even knows about the Sleazatorium?
No.
So you think there's an entrance, like a secret entrance in his house?
Yes.
That she doesn't know about at all?
Yes.
God, that makes it even more insidious. Do you think there's a time when he gets older, when he's in his 70s or 80s maybe, where he tells one of his children where it is?
Possibly, yes.
It's got to be in his will, though, right?
Yes.
That he bequeaths these horrors.
I think the wife wouldn't care. Just,
she's got to know what a...
Yes, she knew what she was doing for.
What she was getting in for, right?
Yeah.
Well, sir, thank you ever so much. I think that does... we've got nothing else to do, right? There's nothing else to add to that.
No, other than I think the blinds sort of maybe...
Fascinated by your blind obsession.
Kind of, sort of suggest the kind of thing of the Sleazy Spader Springtime, and the fact that you could, if you want to revisit past episodes, you can just kind of slowly open the blinds. And it's there for you.
I love it. And I love the little mime you're doing of the blinds.
Which no one can see.
No, but they don't need to see it. I feel like they can
it's
feel it.
It's a very small blind, though. It's like a mini blind, the way I'm doing it.
It's like a mouse's blind.
Yes, but yes, it would just slowly let you into the world of Spader.
Well,
and if you don't like it, then just...
I think that's marvellous. But anyway, Andy, it's your first time on the diner. It's the last Sleazy Spader episode. You were the king of Spader before I was. I have taken that torch and run with it. How do you feel about closing this out the way we have?
I think we've given it a good go, haven't we? You've covered as much as you can cover.
I've tried to cram it all in.
You've covered it more than we have tonight, but
Right.
yeah, I think it's a good end to it, hopefully.
I think it's a good end.
Yeah.
Yes, I wanted to end with a bang, not a whimper.
It's sad it's got to end, but,
Well, I mean, like I say, we might do Spader Scraps one
Yes.
year and maybe cover Shorts, The Homesman, Lincoln, and Killer in the Family. That would be a little.
And Boston Legal? I think maybe, it's a big thing to cover, but I mean...
So, Boston
I think
Legal,
that's
I recently
strong.
rewatched while I had COVID,
Yes.
and it was as much of a sheer delight this time round as I remember. I've now rewatched Boston Legal, I think, 4 times.
Right.
Or watched it 4 times. Like, I watched
Yeah.
it originally, and then I've watched it, I think, 3 times since. And while the first 2 series, weirdly, they have a lot of their moments, and they're kind of defining what the show is.
Yeah.
His character does change by the 5th season.
Right.
Because when I was held up, holed up down here with COVID, I watched the first 2 seasons and the 5th season.
Right.
I didn't watch 3 and 4, and I have to go back and do that. But
Yeah.
my feeling is I sort of preferred the ambiguous Alan Shore of the first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
But I preferred the plot lines of the 5th
Okay.
season. That makes sense.
I mean, could you cover it in like a kind of series, like could you have next year's Sleazy Spader being Series 1 Boston Legal and each year, or is
That
that...
would be a tall order.
Yeah?
I think what you're trying to do here, Lunn, is rope me into 3 more years of Spader, and I think all good things have to come to an end.
They do.
I would acquiesce to, in 2 or 3 years, when I've feeling the pang
Yes.
of doing Spader Scraps
Right.
as 4 things. Whether I would do a deep dive into Boston Legal, I feel like I would have to stop the diner and do one of those podcasts where every episode of the podcast is 1 episode of the show.
Oh, right. That's a lot.
And I don't know that I could really have the patience for that.
Yeah.
But who knows? The world, I mean, listen, we've all decided that the After Movie Diner must continue.
Yes.
We've all decided that it will potentially continue in rich, strange, and interesting ways.
Mm-hmm.
So never say never, my friend.
Okay.
Never say never. And that's where we end this Sleazy Spader Springtime with Never Say Never. Because also, who knows what he's going to do next?
Who knows? That is exciting.
Right?
Hopefully he won't quit, retire. Hopefully he'll have something new.
Yeah. I hope. Thank you ever so much, Andy,
Thank
for
you.
being the closer and this most auspicious Sleazy
I hope I'm
Spader.
worthy of that.
You have been very worthy of it, so thank you so much. All right, and that's it. We're done. We're out. Boom.